Nick Andrews. Nick is the founder of Blue Green Markets. He's also a conservationist. He's worked for 35 years in financial markets as a regulator. He sat on the board of many financial institutions that are very well known. I won't mention any of them here because I'll probably embarrass him, but he is pioneering a new valuation of nature, of which the Cross River gorilla is very much part, where keystone species can actually be valued for their carbon sequestration services and their carbon plus services, which are their services in the protection and prevention of climate change and ecosystem restoration. Very honored today to have with us Nick Andrews. Nick, over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. But I am honoured to be here amongst all of these conservationists and scientists, doctors, the justice, everybody else. I feel very insignificant in your presence. I think some of the key points that I'm taking out from some of the comments that have been said play right into the hands of what Michelle has just said to us. That using, and I think it was Dr. Imong said the important role of the Cross River gorilla in the ecosystem is it's the keystone creature upon which the pyramid of the ecosystem sits underneath it, and it improves the health of the forest. So a healthy forest equals healthy gorillas. I have to ignore the poaching part from that particular piece because we can deal with that in different ways, as we've heard from some of our other speakers. We also find it's absolutely key from what the Justice has said that to change the laws, as he said, and to educate his legislature to understand that the fines that can be applied and the punitive measures that can be applied against poachers, together with the shippers of the corpses of these endangered gorillas and other such things. He did use a figure of 100,000 to 500,000, and I assume that's in the Cameroonian currency. What we are doing, and some of my colleagues are on this call, so I hope I don't step on their toes in case I take their thunder. But what we have with our US colleagues run by Dr. Ralph Kami, he's created the ability to calculate valuations of carbon sequestration by the emblematic keystone creatures. David Attenborough quotes, we heard David Attenborough speaking in the video earlier, but he quotes the value of a blue whale, for example, in Blue Planet at about $3.5 million. That was at the time when the value of carbon was about 25 euros a ton. It's now 4 times that size. From a savanna elephant, which is in Gabon, Cameroon, and so on, it was about $1.5 million. By using the concepts of the change in the law by the justices he's talking about, that's using, for example, and I'm doing a rough calculation on some of the numbers that that were given to us by the 20 medium-sized gorillas equals about 1 elephant. So it's about $250,000 is the value for the carbon of a gorilla at $25. So you can multiply that. So it's about $1 million is the carbon services provided by a grown gorilla. I'm using those numbers just based on what I've heard here today and the core figures that we've had. So conceptually, for the justice, the punitive fine starts at $1 million for a dead gorilla. Currently, we're only valuing, and I'm spreading that across the forests and everything else, we're valuing gorillas and these keystone species at nothing. They're worth, I know of elephants in certain parts of Africa that are killed for $20. That's what the local constituents get. The poachers get $200. And then when it gets shipped to the Far East, it's worth a lot more for that, for whatever uses that they may have for that. But $20, and now we can put a price on the head. It sounds a dreadful way of putting it, onto these keystone species, which is a lot more than we thought about at the beginning. So from the education and from the legal pieces, those are very key points that have come out. So I now want to just talk about what we're doing at Blue Green Markets here in the UK in conjunction with our colleagues at Blue Green Future in the US. We're part of the same group. We're taking those valuations and using the gorilla, for example, if it is worth about $2 million, my figure there, and an elephant that's worth about $2.5 million, and a blue whale at $3.5 million, etc., etc. And we're taking that as the emblem, that was the word that's been used earlier, the emblematic, as the emblem for the natural habitat upon which it lives, the forest, and the health of that particular forest. Multiplying that for perpetuity and then present valuing that gives us a market value for the natural capital services of that particular environment. Forest is the one that we're talking about here. Present valuing that gives us a market value for carbon sequestration purposes. The values that we don't have in there are the values of biodiversity, the values of environment tech in the trees, the values of X, Y's, and Z's. We simply don't have the scientific data there. I know Fabio is on this call. He's working on an awful lot more of that. There's lots of other teams working on that as well. But that is, in essence, an additional value which we can't yet measure in dollar terms on that environment. So what have we done with that valuation? We have created a new financial instrument, and we have the benefit of this, that in the new world of technology, we can now take this onto a regulated listed exchange. So it's almost like being able to list, I use it in the wrong terms, so bear with me there, the Cross River gorillas in Cameroon and on the border of Nigeria, we can actually list on the market, on a regulated market. When it goes onto a regulated market, it gets greater global visual, which plays into that emblematic piece that we heard Penny and, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, from the Gorilla Foundation, Penny and the team there about cocoa, making it emblematic. If it's on a market, we have the ability to create various other instruments from there, which brings in liquidity. The more liquidity that comes in provides greater cash into the asset holder, which would be in the Gabon, that would be the government or the municipality of whichever entity that is. And we have various structures to be able to deliver that money to, I think Dr. Imong also said his costs for running 40 people and training them to be scientists, taking the school children out and training them to be scientists, is around $250,000 to $300,000 a year. Well, we would pay that from the monies that we raise, which is a relief to him to say that we will now provide you this, subject to you being able to evidence that the gorillas are protected, the forest is protected, and you provide us with the information about this, and you show us the effectiveness that those gorillas are actually expanding in their population, and the health of the forest is also expanding and improving in those particular pieces. The key part there for the countries involved is what we're saying is the forest is now worth more for the services it provides than it is for the one-stop extractive industries that it's generally sold for, i.e. mining or logging. And that is very prevalent. If you would like to see a report that was written by our team for the Los Cedros forest in Ecuador, where we produced this report into the court to show that the value was far in advance of the chopping down the trees and putting beef cattle on it for burgers. And I just find that frightening, to be honest, but that's why I'm doing this sort of thing. So I've given you a very, very high level over this. So what we don't do is we do not take over the underlying asset. That remains in the ownership of there. We are taking the rights to the carbon sequestration on the forest or in the ocean or whatever it is that we're looking at. The emblem is the elephant or the Cross River gorilla in this particular case, as it's been said, that is the keystone species. That's what we're doing on the institutional side. We do have a retail side where we have an app and we have various other pieces that go into that. For that, I will bore you to tears if I went into that for another, I don't know how long I've been going on for 20 minutes or so. Apologies for that, but we do have the retail side, which brings that into, as we all know, the locals all have smartphones. Now they can see these sorts of things. And I was looking at Penny and the team when they were saying that. So I just want that to be able to push into their into the app to be able to show and keep people educated on these sorts of things. It's probably my time to stop there, Michelle, but happily talk about anything else with anybody on here at a later date.
We're really grateful, and as you so wisely said, I think we'll be able to connect through John and Kelly and Annie and myself will be able to connect people later after this for further conversations.